the strangest feeling to know what to believe in. Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body. Oh, baby, you are on my mind, all I think about, and I don't wanna stop.
From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the Real Zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
It's out in a minute here. Good stuff, real good stuff. So we got Coach Dee coming up, pulling up the rear. We had a good one. Yeah, folks, we're having technical issues here. What's going on, D?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know. Did you hear anything or no? Didn't. Yeah, we're having technical difficulties. So welcome to the show, folks. Got some technical difficulties on. Looks like my entire system is down, but show must go on. Let's get it. So weaponized incompetence. Like I said, Coach D and I were having a conversation. I canceled the show on last week because I was stressed out. I was genuinely stressed out. But in Coach D's fashion, she called BS. I was like, hey, listen, I'm stressed out because assistant's on vacation and I have to do the shopping. And I haven't shopped in years and years. And it was a genuine stress, but it was different. So I knew exactly what she was going with it, and I want to have that conversation. Let's talk about it. Weaponized incompetence.
Hello. Sorry, that was a good idea. Yep.
All good.
So, weaponized incompetence is like it's very passive aggressive. Like, remember
Right.
I sent you a picture of a guy. His
Right.
wife came home and he had put the groceries away, and
Right.
literally just take the grocery bags and put them into the fridge.
Right.
Like, that's considered
And that's
weaponized
within
incompetence.
relationships. Right. That's
Yeah,
within relationships, right?
it can happen at work too.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, people go, I'm not really good at this. You do it so much better. I can do this, but I'm so slow. It's gonna take forever.
Right.
Or just
Right.
plain like do it miserably so they don't get asked to do it again.
Exactly.
Right?
Well,
Oh, I don't know if I froze or if you frozen. Anyone there? Can you hear me? 1 second. I will text him to see. Bear with me while we figure this out. We may have to go later. 1 second here.
Yeah, well, 7 minutes into the show, we're actually having problems here.
I just sent you a message. I wasn't sure if it was me or you.
No, it's me. It's me. The
Yeah.
entire system here is we're having trouble here, but we're gonna try and get through it. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So it's very strategic, right? They knowingly, some will say they unknowingly demonstrate an ability to perform or master certain tasks.
Right.
I sent you this thing? There's a comedian, and she does like she's a Christian comedian. So before she does every girls' night out thing, she
Mm-hmm.
asks a specific question. She goes, "Between the time you left your house and you arrived here, how many of your husbands have texted you?" And then she asks them what they text.
Right.
And some of them are like, "What am I going to eat tonight?" Like, "I think I lost one of the kids. What do the kids like to eat?" And like, this is like,
Right.
oops. It has become such a norm that she like, if you read their comments, it's ridiculous some of the things that people are saying. Like,
Right.
they,
I
one lady,
totally,
people, oh, go ahead.
I totally get that. I knew where you, what road you were heading down with that. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as with this, I was glad to have this conversation. I was actually excited about having this conversation so that my people with different abilities could actually see this, right? But here's the downside to having an assistant when you're dealing with a different ability. Like I had anxiety, truly had anxiety and nervousness because I haven't done it in quite some time. And I was truly and genuinely stressed out. But this reminded me that I need to go with her sometime. Not just in even though she's compensated very well, but taking care of those things for me, I still need to go with her, sometimes because certain things I order online and they just bring it to the house from the market. But things like fruits and stuff like that, you know, some essential items, I truly don't want other people handling that. If it's not her, I'm just not interested in that. But I genuinely had anxiety. But let's talk about the manipulation and
Yeah.
weaponizing
So let's get
incompetence
something
in a
very straight
relationship.
though. There's a difference between differently able people having issues doing things and
Right,
people purposely not doing them. That's a whole different thing, right?
right.
And you can be differently able and be manipulative and not and do things improperly on purpose.
Exactly. And honestly, and the reason why I wanted to have this because you and I are completely transparent with one another, and we stress transparency
Yeah.
on this show. You know, particularly straight from you and I is transparency. Like you called me to the carpet,
Oh,
and to
I
be
laughed
honest
at
with you,
you.
you did, you did. And honestly, my anxiety didn't want to do it, didn't want me to do it. My fear didn't want me to do it.
Who else did you
It was
call? Who else did you tell me you called about it? And where was she?
you
We're
talking about
gonna
my
be honest.
sister?
Yeah, you called your sister while she was on a cruise. I was like,
Absolutely.
sir, I told
Hey,
you can order things online. Like, please.
exactly. But certain, and I was making excuses. I was making excuses. I was like, you know what? There was that fear and that anxiety kicked in. So you can unconsciously have what weaponized incompetence. Unconsciously, that's what I was doing. Honestly, I was. You called me to the carpet.
I don't think so. Weaponized incompetence and anxiety do not go together.
Right.
Anxiety is very different. I have PTSD, so I have extreme anxiety about being around people I don't know. That's
Right.
not weaponized incompetence. Weaponized incompetence is being perfectly able to go to the store with no
Right.
anxiety, no issues, and going to the store and still messing up.
Exactly.
Like I have a friend whose husband needs pictures of the things that they are buying. And then if he
Wow.
doesn't find it, she has him FaceTime her so she can point out the item on the shelf.
Right.
Like this is a grown man.
Right.
Like, sir, Xavier can grocery shop easy without all that help.
That's straight manipulation, though. That's
Hmm.
really straight manipulation.
Yeah,
So I get it. I totally get it.
yeah.
I
Because
totally get that.
a lot of people will try to like. We want to be very careful when we're talking about differently able people because those are legitimate issues,
Right.
right? So, and having anxiety, like I laughed at you because you called me. I'm like, sir, what am I going to do? I am 1,500 miles away. I am not going grocery shopping.
I was truly panicking. So I was like, let me call Dee. I'm really panicking. And it was
Yeah,
quite interesting. Go
yeah.
ahead.
And here's the thing. Like, I laugh because not that you called me, but you called somebody on a cruise. I'm like, sir, we can't. You need to call people who can help. Like, I get the anxiety and the stress and everything. And then when you said, well, I hope you're grocery shopping in a while, I'm like, all sympathy's gone. You know what? Because yeah,
that's the type of friendship she and I have. We just straight up with each other. So it is what it is.
I get it because I have trouble grocery shopping. So I
Right.
understand. At the same time, I do what I can to make sure that I can manage. Like, I have most of mine delivered to avoid that. But here's the thing: when we talk about weaponized incompetence, there's entire studies done on it. But the manipulation and the passive aggressiveness is why it's done.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy when you go diving deep, like not putting their clothes in the hamper on purpose.
Right. Touch on that a little bit for me.
So here's the thing. There's people who will specifically use weaponized incompetence to avoid doing any labor whatsoever at home. And when I say any labor, I mean something as simple as putting their own clothes in a hamper or doing laundry because they always mess it up, right? And refuse to learn how to do any of these things. And then their wife puts up this for years and years and years, and then finally she gets fed up and walks away, and they're like, well, I don't know why she left. I'm like, sir, you cannot find a ketchup bottle in the fridge standing in front of you with ketchup written across it.
Right.
And people don't want to, and women can do it too. It's less likely with women, but it happens. But it's very passive aggressive, and people know when they're being manipulated. Right? If you're a grown man and you can't figure out how to butter bread, there's something going on, right?
Something going on there. So tell folks what that looks like within a relationship, or male or female.
So it's manipulation. It's gaslighting. It's putting all the emotional labor on your significant other, whether you're married, dating, even in working relationships, by refusing to do or purposely doing it badly so they won't ask you to do it again. Like, people joke about it, right? Like, people are proud that they will purposely mess up the grocery shopping so they won't be asked to do it.
Exactly.
So you have two people both working full-time jobs. This guy purposely messes up the grocery order so he doesn't have to do it. He comes home, plays his video games. She comes home. She has to take care of the kids. She has to buy the groceries. She has to put away the groceries. She has to clean the house. Blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, right? Then do homework and bed routine and all this stuff. And this guy will complain if somebody asks him to do something. Or give him a list, right?
Would that fall under the category of malicious?
It
weaponized incompetence?
Over time, it would be malicious. Right? Because here's the thing. Women don't want to have to give men lists of things they can do. You're not helping your wife take care of your house. You live there too.
Exactly. Shared responsibility.
Yeah. So when you say, oh, I'm helping her do the dishes, did you eat? Like, what's going on here? Or I'm helping. My pet peeve is men who say they're babysitting their kids. I'm like, sir, you're parenting. How are you babysitting your own children?
I've always took issue with that when folks say, well, I'm babysitting. Well, how are you babysitting? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's your child.
Exactly.
If it's somebody else's kid, yeah, okay, you're babysitting. But you know what? It's BuzzFeed had 17 examples. So when you think about this, and it's like, it was crazy. So 1 second. It would be so much easier to list the things he doesn't act incompetent about, but one that just makes you want to scream is how he constantly complains we throw out so much leftover food from dinner because it never got put away the night before. And I remind him he's perfectly capable of putting the leftovers away himself.
Right.
Let me find another one. My husband is awesome, but one thing he does is act like I magically remember the amount of things needed for a recipe. 2 days ago, I was getting to bed. It's late, he says. So I'm going to store together. I'll get the stuff for the chicken souvlaki. What do we need for that? I said, the
Right.
recipe card is in the kitchen next to the stove. So he keeps asking her, but how much chicken? And he's like, the recipe card is in the kitchen. Right? And it's crazy. Like,
Yeah, to me though, that's a sign of straight laziness. To me,
weaponizing
that's a
competence
sign
is
of
lazy.
straight laziness. Go ahead.
Weaponizing competence most of the time is laziness,
Yeah,
right?
totally get it.
Like expecting somebody else to know exactly where all your stuff is at.
Totally get it. Totally get it. Wouldn't that
I
be a
get,
sign of insecurity as well?
it's not really a
Would
sign
you
of
say?
insecurity because they're very secure in not doing it and not having to do it. Right? It's not a
Gotcha.
sign of insecurity. It's not about, oh, I can't if I do this wrong, I'll be shamed or anything like that. That's not it at all.
Right,
Because they
right, right.
perfectly know how to wash dishes. They know how to put their clothes in the
Exactly.
laundry. They know how to turn on a washer. Right? They know how
Exactly.
to butter bread.
But the first sign to actually stopping that and curbing that is calling it out.
Yeah.
Just like Coach Dee called me out when I said, "Hey, I'm calling my sister. I'm disturbing her on her vacation,"
Yeah.
which really could have waited, but hey, I get it. Totally get it.
Like here's an example. So Xavier, I told people I'm raising Xavier to make sure he can find things in the refrigerator. So
Right.
he will go downstairs and I'm like, Mom, I can't find it. I'm like, Xavier. And I'll come in. I'm like, look on the door. What does ketchup look like? Because the bottle was turned around. He's like, well, it's red.
Right. Right.
But what
Right.
does the bottle look like? I'm like, just look for the bottle. You know what it looks like.
That's
And so it
it.
takes him a minute, but he looks for it because I'm not going to go downstairs and save him. He's got to figure out
Right.
how to find things on his own.
That's true. Yeah.
And I told him, if you ever get married and your spouse tells me you're doing this, I will personally come to your house and sort you out because it's not acceptable behavior. Like,
Totally get it.
here's one. Here's a good story. My parents have been married more than 30 years, and I've never seen my father clean anything, do laundry, or cook a family meal. I once pointed this out to my mom, and she said that he doesn't know how to do these things. Imbalance, my dad mows the lawn and shovels snow. Tasks are seasonal and way less frequent. Unfortunately, the previous generation of women accepted this because of a lack of other options. The idea that men are just incapable of completing basic household tasks.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. I was in the Army, and in the Army, we are expected to clean when we're on course, right?
Right.
Expected to clean. I went over to a friend's house, and we came in, and she was preparing for a party, and he was out
Hmm.
mowing the backyard. The party was in the winter or the fall. Last
Right.
season, no need to cut grass; it's not growing, right? And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, well, it's September. I should get the lawn mowed. I'm like, sir, there's gonna be snow next month. Why are you mowing the lawn?
Right.
I said, shouldn't you be inside helping? He goes, well, I don't know how to clean. I'm like, bullshit.
Exactly.
I'm like, we are in the Army, sir. I have seen you clean. Right? If people were yelling at you, you'd be cleaning up, you'd be vacuuming, no problem. Like, sort yourself out. And it's
Exactly.
like, you live here. What are you doing? So,
So let's talk about the steps of overcoming weaponized incompetence. Number one would be identify the behavior.
mhm.
That's the most important thing is identifying it, man. Once you identify it, call it out.
Yep.
Call it out. When you see an imbalance in the relationship, whatever relationship it is, whether it be romantic or friendship, call it to the carpet. Be completely transparent about it. And if the person if it's legit, they're gonna take responsibility for what they're unconsciously doing. If not, it's malicious. D.
Yeah. So here's the thing. People will tell people it's all about communication. But here's the
Right.
problem with weaponized incompetence. People use it specifically to not communicate and will get angry if you call them out on it.
Tell the folks what that looked like.
So people will gaslight you. People will gaslight you. Well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't do this well. You're the expert at it. This is your wheelhouse.
This is your expertise and whatnot, and
Yeah,
straight up manipulation. Yeah,
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 right. And they won't pay attention. They won't follow like any instructions because they don't want to do it.
exactly.
Right. And people are like, oh well, maybe they got better things to do. I'm like, there is if you're living somewhere and you're living in that place, you should be helping to maintain that place.
Share the responsibility.
Yep. And you should be
Absolutely.
communicating. Right.
That's right.
And here's the thing: you'll see these red flags in relationships. When I was in Toronto, I dated this guy once, and I went over to his house, and his house was horrible. Like he had a party and hadn't cleaned up.
Right.
And I walked in, I'm like, why you didn't clean anything up? He's like, no, I just thought you'd do it when you come over. I'm like, no. I'm like, have a great day. And I turned around and left. He called me up and he's like, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't live there. You actually live in a house, purposely didn't clean up because you thought I would clean up your mess when I came over.
Wow.
Like, that make sense.
Yeah, that was bold.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, well, I just wanted to test you for your wife material. I'm like, no, you want to test if I was stupid. Can you imagine somebody having a party and not cleaning up and expecting somebody to come over that they're trying to date? Like we weren't official yet, and expecting them to clean your house.
Exactly. That's just like, man, if you recognize that and you see the issue and you attempt to try and work toward to do better and become better as a team. If the other party's not doing that, that's a problem.
Oh yeah,
it's a huge problem.
It is, and like if you Google weaponized incompetence, some of the things that you see, it's like, wow, like it is crazy.
Right. Right.
1 second.
1 sec.
So here's another story. Here's one. So when I was in Halifax, my former sister-in-law and her boyfriend had moved. Were moving up from Newfoundland and were staying with us while we were looking for an apartment. Right. So I was home. I was studying. I forgot what I was studying. So I would go in the kitchen, make myself a snack, or go out. Right. This man did not get off the sofa once. He waited until she came home from work to eat.
You told me about that.
Yeah. 1 second. You talk for a minute. I'm giving you because Xavier just knocked.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, folks, weaponized incompetence, man. I mean, there's 6 signs to that. Calling it out, don't minimize behavior, get to the root of the problem, talk about how you could be better as a team, be willing to negotiate, and prioritize your partnership. Again, prioritize your partnership. You know, if they can't prioritize that, move away from them quick.
Yeah. It is funny. It is a interesting conversation. So if you go on Reddit and look at it, there are people who are actually defending it.
Wow.
Like it's crazy how people think there's nothing wrong with it.
I can believe that. I can
like to be 50 years old and not know how to wash your own clothes.
I can believe that.
And
I've seen some women as well do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, play the whole damsel in distress type situation. You know, I find, this is just my personal opinion, I find when some of them do that, you know, playing the old damsel in distress, they want to feel better about themselves. Girl, I got a man doing stuff for me.
Yeah.
You can't do it yourself, lady?
Yeah. I had my ex told me, if you act like a lady, you get treated like a lady. I'm like, sir. So you know what? Because what was it? It was a bucket of salt. So this is before I found out about the little side chick.
Right.
There was a bucket of salt, and I was waiting for the salt to get put into the bucket to put it outside, right? And I waited and I waited and I waited. And I finally got fed up because it's winter and it needs to be in the bucket. So I
Right.
started to put in, and he said that, and I was like, you know what? All right, I will play the damsel in distress. I won't do a damn thing anymore. And I left it there. Do you know how long that bucket lasted in that front porch?
How long?
8 months.
You joking?
Nope, because I didn't touch it. Didn't move it.
Apparently, neither did he. So wow,
Because ladies don't do that. So
wow.
So it is it's an interesting situation because people want women to be like dainty and delicate, but at
Right.
the same time, they want them to do everything without any assistance.
I get it.
I'm like, you know what? That was fine. Back in the old days, women had household help if they were of a certain status.
Right.
But then you get the whole, well, my mother was strong. I'm like, if your mother was strong and struggled, you should not want that for your family. You
Right.
should want it to be easier, not harder.
I could agree with that. I could
Yeah.
agree with
So,
that.
yeah. Too often we see people who are very much, well, I struggle, so you have to, which is very odd, I find.
Odd and selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole student loan thing where people were going to get their student loan forgiven. I'm like, I think that's fabulous. I don't have any student loans, but I think it's fabulous that people aren't going to have to pay outrageous. Like they were talking about somebody had a student loan. Original student loan was $70,000. They've been paying on it for 20 years, and they still owe $70,000. Like to me, I'm like, that's crazy. How
Right.
student loans have been taken advantage of. Like you know what? People are like, well, I paid mine off. I'm like, and that's why
Exactly.
we'll never have healthcare here.
Only in the States. Only in the States. Only in the
That's why,
States.
yeah, that's why we won't have healthcare because somebody that others think don't deserve it will get it.
Exactly. Only in the
And that's
States,
where
man.
weaponized incompetence comes in. It's like voting against your own interest is a weaponized incompetence,
Absolutely.
right? Like the lady, remember the lady on the news in Texas who had to get she was having a miscarriage and she had to leave the state.
Yeah.
She voted
Thanks
for
so
the
much.
guy who put the law into place, but it wasn't a big deal until it affected her.
Exactly.
I'm like, yo, and I was watching the other day, and they're talking about undecided voters, and when you listen to them, like they weren't undecided; they were definitely deciding who they're going to vote for. She's like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to vote for somebody who has 34 felonies.
You
Really?
know, I'm glad you brought this up, talking about, here in the States, right? Stuff that we do over here.
Mm.
Thursday morning, I had another friend over in France. She's a nutritious coach.
Yeah.
And Catherine Getu, over in France. And I thought about you, right? Being from Canada and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. And I got to thinking after I done that podcast, I had to get up early to do it because, the 7-hour difference
Yeah.
and whatnot. But I got to thinking, we we're talking about different things and, the comparisons between the States, with nutrition and GMOs and stuff like that compared to other countries, right? The conversations that I have with you and Catherine I've had with you and Catherine over the years is completely different.
Mm.
No shade to my counterparts here in the States, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different mindset. You know, not selfish at all. Neither one of you. And I've had friendship, 20 years with you,
Yeah.
a little over 10 years with Catherine. Completely different, man. Completely different.
It's a culture. So here's the thing:
Exactly.
we're very community oriented, whereas in the U.S. the whole rugged individualism is really not that what's going on here because nobody gets anywhere all by themselves.
Exactly.
There's always somebody to help, right? And the whole pull yourself by your bootstraps is ridiculous because that actually goes back to slavery when slaves didn't have boots and they were just making fun of them.
Exactly.
Right? But here's the
Exactly.
thing: when you talk about your friend and nutritionist, When Xavier and I went back to home, we ate I thought lactose intolerance.
Right.
So I'm very careful about what I eat, dairy wise. So when
Absolutely.
we went
Yeah.
home, we were eating whatever we want. Our stomachs never got up. We never got upset. We actually lost weight
Right.
without and just eating whatever we wanted.
Which
And
is the
it was
proper
weird.
way.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Xavier noticed the things that he liked best tasted differently,
Mhm.
right? Like he had an
Like
orange
what? Give
soda.
me an example. What do you like?
An orange soda, right? He's like,
Right.
"Mommy, it's still sweet, but it tastes different." I'm like, "Yeah." And he didn't feel gassy afterwards. But
Right.
it's
Right.
because
Right.
of the additives in the foods here.
There you go. Bingo.
Right? There's so much
There
stuff
you
in the
go.
food here that's not allowed in other countries that people don't realize. A lot of people are starting to realize now. Like
Right. Right. Right.
they'll go because people are traveling. They'll go away and they're like, "Wait, why can I eat all this bread in Europe and I can't eat it here?" I'm like, American bread in Europe is considered to be cake because it's so sweet,
Exactly.
right?
Two totally different situations, man. No
Yeah,
shade. Two totally. I'm getting personal messages here. Someone telling
yeah.
me I'm shading states here, but it's, that's funny. I see you,
I've
beautiful.
been called
Um,
anti-American. I'm like, yeah, if I was so anti-American, I wouldn't live here.
but
Like
it's
the
totally
immigration.
different. And to be fair, she just called me out. To be fair, like her, same conversation I have with you and Catherine, I have with her.
Mhm.
But the majority of folks here, different. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be honest. Sorry,
Mm. But
just being
here's
honest.
the other thing. Canada and France are very similar, and it's preventive medicine,
Right.
right?
Boom.
They before you get sick, not after you get sick, right? So
Boom.
people are like, "Oh, Canada." I'm like, "Yeah, Canada does have issues with the healthcare system because there's not enough doctors, right? Well
Exactly.
aware, but it also works on a triage system. If you go to the emergency room and have a cold, you're not going to be treated first. You're going to wait because the sicker
Absolutely.
people will get treated first, right?
I give an example, right? I'm
Mhm.
glad we're actually making this transition. Actually, we could use this podcast for the split that we're doing with topics. We're gonna finish
Mhm.
off weaponized, but we'll get on to some other stuff. But I give an example. Years ago, I was dating this other girl in Canada, and she became sick, right? So
Right.
she's like, "Can you meet me at the hospital?" I was like, "Sure." I say, "But I'm gonna need a ride home." I said, "Okay." So I went over, crossed the border, went over there into Windsor. And this is my first experience with universal health care.
Mhm.
You know, my very first experience. So I'm looking at all these people in the emergency room, and I'm like, and I asked her, I say, "So, where's your insurance?" She said, "What are you talking about?" And she literally said, "She said, what are you talking about?" And she
Yeah.
was literally weak and couldn't do certain things. And I was like, "Where's your insurance? I'm gonna go up and make sure everything's straight with you." She was like, "What are you talking about?" That was my first experience with that.
Yeah.
Totally different healthcare system. Well, because that's where you're from.
Yeah.
But
Just have a health card.
exactly,
Yeah. I have my
exactly. And there was no chaos in the emergency room. Everything was pleasant. Everybody got seen in an orderly fashion.
mhm. Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, gee, but if you're really sick," I'm like, my stepdad has heart issues. He's never had
Right.
to wait, right? Because it's
Exactly.
a triage system. But it's crazy. Like Xavier got a. I have good insurance through my employer.
Right.
I have a high deductible because I don't get sick very often. Xavier just so I end up paying a deductible. So
Right. Right.
Xavier
Right.
got a blister on his hand because he likes to slide his hand up the dirty rails at school, which I told him
Right.
not to because that's just disgusting. So he ended up getting an infected blister. So even with insurance, after my deductible, it cost me $450 to get his hand treated. And I'm like, there's no wonder people are so sick. You can't go to the doctor, right? And for medication, it's people are getting bankrupt and medically bankrupt. Like that's unheard of from developed countries, right? It's just not done. Are you still there? Are you frozen again? Oh no. Yeah. So it's interesting because I've been to France. I've got sick there. No huge issues. You go to the doctor, give you what you health, and you'll hear stories about people going all over the world and getting sick and getting treated, and it's no problem. I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I'll keep talking. 1 second. I'll just check to make sure. I'll send him a message. Here with me. But it's really interesting because I was talking to somebody about universal health care. Oh, we lost him. I was talking to somebody about universal health care, and he was telling me that they'll never have it.
Sorry, folks. Actually, we're having technical difficulties here at the studio. We're having very technical difficulties here, so bear with us. So good stuff. I appreciate you holding it down, Coach Dee. Go ahead.
I didn't know it was you or me, so I just kept talking. But I was going on, but like in the election when they were talking about universal health care and Romney and all there putting them out, I remember going to a what's it not? A open house, what's it called? Have town hall.
Yeah.
Town hall meeting. And this guy was there and he's like, oh, the Canadian guy who invented universal health care is against it. I'm like, dude, he's been dead for 20 years. Well, how do you know that? I'm like, I'm Canadian. I have dual citizenship. He's like, well, you're just a brainwashed. You got to get off the Democratic plantation. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? We don't have Democrats in Canada. It doesn't work that way. We have a parliamentary system. But there's so much information, like somebody who people think doesn't deserve it will get it, so we can't have it. Like the thinking about that is just ridiculous. And you'll see it for lots of things, but anything that a specific group, especially now with some of the religious things about women's autonomy that are being pushed, is just crazy. Did we lose him again? I don't even know what's going on. Well, let me get to the comments. Kelvin said hello. Cold drink, not soda. Yeah, we're not going to go into that because y'all vote against your own right, your own selves. Ridiculous. People actually voting for. Kelvin said, "The hell with the Democrats." As soon as you say Democrats, I automatically just know that you're not able to have a conversation with.
That's my friend Drew. He's
Slash
truly
says hello.
a Trumper.
What
up, Slash? He's definitely a Trumper. He's definitely a Trumper.
Why would you vote for somebody who doesn't like you if you're black?
Good question. He and I debate like that all the time.
He doesn't like women. And like people are like, oh, he's the God's chosen one. I'm like, he cheated on every wife he had. Like he told one wife he was getting divorced in a newspaper, so she read it on the front page. Like, come on.
Here's the thing.
Now they're wearing diapers, sir. Diapers.
Exactly. Here's the problem here's my problem with that guy, right? Like a ton of people don't know. I have a ton of folks who are friends of mine over in New York. They know this guy's a con artist. The other half of the country don't know it. They don't know it, but he's been a con artist. He's Don the Con. That's his nickname, Don the Con. So we're not gonna waste no time on this guy, though. We won't do that.
But yeah, let's get back to the difference in systems in France and Canada and all that. Here's the thing: our cultures are very different. Like we're close, like we're two countries that are close together, but we don't have the same culture. Like if you go home, we're very community oriented. Like we're like a lot of things amongst the community, and that we're taught critical thinking. When you go to school, you're taught critical thinking and what you can do to help others. Right? Exactly. Religion isn't pushed like it is here. Your religion is your business.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, so, do you remember? This is years ago. I'm more than sure you remember that I was actually considering moving to Canada.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I truly enjoy Canada. Everything about Canada, I love it.
Yeah.
Same with France. Love it. You know what I'm saying? But it's totally different, man. When you actually cross that city limit line, you see things a little different. Your view gets a little clear. You
Yeah.
don't have the rose-colored glasses on or anything like that. So it's
Yeah.
totally different. Different cultures, yes. But hey, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just reading your friend saying that he's a Creole, not black. I'm like, honey, you might want to check your history for a minute. we don't want to go down the road and have a history lesson.
No, Drew, we don't want to do that. Drew, you want to leave that alone. Drew, leave that alone.
Yeah,
trust me. That's my man. That's my man. Trust me. Leave that alone, Drew.
Yeah, your man has
identity
issues.
On that.
Right. So here's the.
Go ahead.
No. So here's the thing. When we're looking at the difference in cultures between cultures that are community oriented versus individual, if you look at developed countries, all the other developed countries are very community oriented. One of the happiest countries in the world is Finland. Finland's very community oriented, right?
Right.
And it's all about how the community would benefit as a whole versus how only one group will benefit. Like
one group of people.
Here we worry about corporations.
Exactly.
We don't worry about people. We worry about who's making the most money and how they can make the most money. Right?
Key word. Worried about people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of compassion in this country.
Oh, lack of compassion. We have zero compassion.
There you go.
We only have compassion when it affects us individually. If it doesn't affect us individually, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like I had a conversation with a woman whose husband is on kidney. He was on kidney dialysis, and he needed. He does dialysis like 5 days a week. Medications, needed a transplant, and she was complaining about how universal health care would kill him quicker. I was like, man, he would get treatment.
Exactly.
Right? I'm like, I don't think you understand how universal health care works. And she's like, no, because he's so sick, they would just let him die. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, but here's the thing though. This is what these people are told. If they haven't experienced that country, like I was fortunate enough to experience all that stuff. Yeah. If they haven't experienced it, of course they're going to speak from a place of ignorance.
Yeah.
Because they can experience it. They listen to that television.
Well, listen to 86% of people don't do their own independent fact verification. I'm not going to say research because research is very specific and it goes into a lot of detail and stuff like that. But just verifying facts.
Exactly.
Like it's crazy how few people will do it, and will just repeat whatever they're told.
Exactly, and that's it. The answer to that's totally it. Like I had another friend who actually just come back from Africa. She was over there for a month, right? Great friend of mine, great workout buddy of mine, Paula. She's a professor, but she just come back Monday, and we sat in Barnes and Nobles. I took a break from the gym for about an hour before my yoga class, and she's just sharing stories with me and everything about Africa that people here don't know. Like Slash knows because he spent some time in Africa as well, and you, of course, you know. But people in this country are misinformed, man. Completely misinformed.
Africa is a country, not a continent.
Thank you.
For one, they don't realize how many countries it encompasses.
Thank you.
Right.
A lot of people are so ignorant with that. I had a neighbor. I was telling her about it. She was like, "Oh, what you did today?" I was talking to my friend. And she called me every Sunday while she was over there, right?
Yeah.
And we talk, and she shared video, we FaceTime and whatnot, and all that stuff. And my neighbor, she was like, "Africa, ugh." I said, "Why would you even say that?" I said, do you know anything about Africa?
Yeah.
The only thing that she could tell me is, oh, it's hoodie and it's jungles everywhere. So I started showing her pictures that Paula was sharing with me. She was like, "That's not Africa." I said, "Yes, it is."
Yeah.
Totally different. Yes, it is. Totally different.
That would be like us sharing a picture of some of the poorest people in the Appalachians and say that is America.
Thank you.
They're like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, yes, it is. This exists in
Thank
America.
you.
This is America, right?
Thank you.
But
Absolutely.
it's crazy how, like, there are some people who are very informed because they've traveled, right? Because when you travel, your eyes are opened up. You see different things. You meet different people, right? I tell people that you should travel. I know
Exactly.
people who have never left their state, who have never left the state of Maryland.
Hold on 1 second. I got to answer Drew on this because I know better. Hey,
Yeah.
Drew, you're uninformed, brother. That's not it. So bashing Africa is the wrong platform to do it over here. Don't do that, brother. I've been knowing you since you were 9. Knock it off. Well, go ahead. What up, Urs? I see yours.
And just so you know, Kelvin, I have a French degree. So if you want to speak French, you want to
Don't
try
do
that?
it to him.
Go.
Don't do it to him.
Like,
Don't do it to him.
I'm like, I like, dude, like, seriously, I don't even know what you don't. People will see these comments and you prove it.
Exactly.
Right?
Drew, you should know. You should know better. You should know better. You know they call me international cut. Knock it off, brother. Come on.
I don't. If I knew an African language, I would tell you, but I unfortunately do not know one. I did
Speak a
learn.
little French for him. Speak a little French for him so he can shut him
No,
up.
because I'm not humoring him now, because that's just nonsense. But Ursula has arrived, and she said we've been lied to here in America. So,
Boom.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
I think a lot more people are coming up to that, and I think that's one of the reasons people want to get rid of TikTok, because there's so much
Absolutely.
information and education on
A
TikTok.
ton of
and
information.
YouTube. Like, it's crazy. Like, I was on one, and we were talking about American history, and there are people who do not realize about all the race riots that occurred,
Exactly.
who were completely unaware of the burning of Tulsa, right? Who were completely
Exactly.
unaware of the whole why Jim Crow existed, why the civil rights happened.
And this is why I tell people all the time. I tell my peers all the time. Cross the city limit line. You'll learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Cross the city limit line. You'll learn some stuff. Get a little culture. Get other people's culture.
Yeah. There's I forget where it is, but they have like a talk to somebody and learn your life. It's like rent a friend at a library, and you go and you meet somebody who's not like you, and you listen to them and talk to them, because we all have different perspectives and different ideas and how we see things. Right? If the only people you talk to are the people who think like you, then you live in an echo chamber, right? There has to be people that you can talk to and have open adult conversations with, and be able to discuss a variety of ideas, right? If their first thing is to start to insult you, you already know you can't have an adult conversation with that person, right? I have friends who I disagree with on topics. I don't have friends that disagree with the humanity of other people, right? There's a limit on, I don't like fence sitters. So there's a time where an ethical decision has to be made, and you have to figure out what side of that ethical decision you see. Many mummies. You know
Okay.
why there's not that many mummies? It's because they were ground up and eaten by Europeans.
Now let me
not realize that.
Let me tell you something about this Canadian here.
What's that?
Actually, my studio is going crazy. It's going down, and this Canadian, this wonderful, beautiful Canadian, flawless, like nothing ever happened. But we're having technical issues here at the studio. So, Coach D, I appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
You're holding it down. Go ahead.
I'll keep talking. I was just talking about why Africa is the way it is, and it's because colonialism. And
That's
people are
it.
talking about this great mystery that they don't know how the pyramids were built. I'm like, people know
That's
how
it.
they don't know how black people built
That's it.
pyramids. Let's
Again,
be
as I
honest.
said, as the studio went down,
Yeah.
cross the city limit line.
Hmm.
You'll learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Different. There's nothing wrong with getting to know other cultures.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I was talking to somebody like, well, how do they build the obliques? I forget the term. I'm like, well, if you looked in a history book, you would see that they were carved out in the ground and then raised.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is not stuff hard. And like mummies were ground up and eaten. That's why there's not that many mummies around. Because they were eaten. They were ground up into
There we
powder
go.
and eaten. Like think
Who
about
that?
that for a minute.
Who that sound? Who that sounds like?
That's some crazy European stuff. It when you think about all the stuff that's going on and when you look at it with a critical eye,
Right.
you really like how the natural resources of Africa were cut up by uh, Britain, France, Germany, the Dutch, all this stuff, and how even now, all the cobalt is hand mined in Congo,
Exactly.
right? All
And
the stuff that's
actually,
going on.
when Paula was over there, they was having an election where she
Hmm.
was. She was in all parts of Africa. She was traveling.
Hmm.
Like I said, she stayed an entire month there. And these people are tired of those colonizers.
Yeah, colonization has done a great disservice to a lot of countries, right? No, very few countries were improved by it. Um, very few countries profited from it. Look at the difference between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Haiti was penalized because of the slaves fought for freedom. So it's when you look at the world with a critical eye and all the things that have happened in the past and all the things that happened in the present, there's a lot that people are refusing to acknowledge. So, when we talk about why can't the United States have universal health care, why isn't the United States like not other um, developed countries? We're not the good guys. We've rarely been the good guys. So when we look at things that we do, um, we don't do it to benefit everybody, right? We ensure that the 90% are fighting over that one piece of pie, while the 10% have the other 9 pieces. Right? And it shows up in a lot of things, like the food that we have. Our food's not as healthy as it should be, right? And we look at how people who are doing minimum wage jobs are treated. Like people will tell you that, oh, minimum wage jobs are only for students. Well, if minimum wage jobs are only for students, then why are those businesses open outside of school during school hours? Right? There's a lot of things that we lie to ourselves about because we don't want to admit that we're not doing as best we can. Right? And I tell people, like, you have to look at things critically and see where you can make changes. Because Gen Z and Gen Alpha, Gen Alpha is a burn it down and rebuild it group. They have elections in Minecraft, protests in Roblox. Y'all aren't ready for those kids. They're gonna hit the they're what the oldest of the Gen Alpha is what 12. They're gonna be voting in 6 years. That's a demographic you don't want to mess with because they believe in questioning authority because they have a voice. They believe in understanding what is going on and why it's happening. Welcome back.
So we're gonna double down. We're gonna double down on this conversation.
Mhm.
We're gonna double down on it next week if you want to. You with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, sure.
What-
What? Which one? The
No, I'm not even worried about the
weaponized
weaponized
incompetence?
incompetence
Yeah,
anymore. Nah, because we'll get to stuff that's very important and
yeah,
speak on these different things in different cultures, and so we could actually school some folks.
yeah,
But I'm having problems here in the studio. I'm not sure why. I think Drew's cutting my line here.
yeah.
All jokes, but anyway, but I'm having trouble within the studio here, and I'm losing my connection here. So, but we'll close up. But we're gonna double down on this conversation that needs to be had.
Listen,
This is the type of
people
conversation that needs to be had.
like to act like Africa is this ridiculous, like backwards country. I'm like, there's 54 countries on the continent.
Exactly.
Like,
And Drew, actually, I'm getting personal private messages from Drew. He's saying he totally disagree with everything we're saying. This is what I'm going to do for you, Drew.
has
I
Drew been
invite
to
you back
Africa?
on. I'm sorry.
Has he been to Africa?
No. So this is what I'm going to do for him. I'm going to invite him on. This is where we're transparent here on the conversation. I'll invite you on to share your thoughts so we can educate you effectively. So I'm going to invite you on. You're welcome to come on with Coach Dee and I so we could educate you effectively and properly. I'd love to have you on Sunday. Clear your schedule. And that's Drew from Gilead Clothing. Go ahead, D.
I was reading Slash says the colonial powers are still raping Mother Africa. Yeah, they are. Who was it that was fighting back? Was it Nigeria that was fighting back against?
No, not Nigeria.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah,
it's another one. Yeah, and Paula talked about that as well.
Yeah, you know what? Africa is a beautiful country. I think as Black Americans, we were stolen and we lost a lot of our history and our culture and where we come from. And to deny, like saying you're Creole and you're not Black, you know what?
Exactly.
Anti-Black internal racism is a whole other conversation we need to have.
I got to read this very important private message here from Slash. He said, will these children learn from their past while they are banning books and hiding all the lies and sins of their forefathers and forefathers?
Yeah.
We're going to double down on this conversation. Drew, again, I challenge you to come on to the conversation so we can have a healthy debate, so we can actually educate you effectively.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the thing. Do you know what I love about TikTok? Is that when people are being ridiculous, they get called out for it quick. Like there are some internet sleuths on TikTok that will track you down in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Like I'm impressed by how fast they are. And
exactly.
In 2024, we have more power in like our little phones than what NASA used to get people on the moon. Right? And if you're not using it, that's why you need to sort yourself out.
A lot of people, if people don't realize this is why Jeff Benzino lobbied on Congress to get TikTok out of there. First of all, the TikTok shop is killing Amazon Prime, Amazon, everything.
Oh yeah.
They're killing them.
Yeah.
Along with all the knowledge, the wealth, the plethora of different knowledge on everything. They just don't do it on us. They do it on everything. It's across the board, the way it should be.
Yeah. And I've told you before, you can tell exactly who somebody is by their TikTok For You page.
Absolutely.
If you're dating somebody, ask them to show you their TikTok For You page. You will know exactly what type of person that is by what shows up, because it will show you what they're looking at. So if you look at mine, you're going to see stuff about Palestine. You're going to see Black history. You're going to see cats and dogs and meditation, because that's what I look at.
Absolutely.
I had a friend, he's like, well, there's so many half-dressed people dancing on there. I'm like, I have never seen half-dressed people dancing on TikTok. I'm like, let me see your phone.
So it's two after the app. Got lost in the sauce with difficulties here at the studio. We're going to double down on this conversation next week. And Drew, again, we're inviting you on to have a healthy conversation with us so we can actually educate you effectively on different cultures, different countries, different continents, all that good stuff. So we welcome you.
English only, out of respect for our English listeners, because there's nothing ruder than speaking a foreign language when people don't understand it.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So until next week, you want to close out, Coach Dee?
Yeah. So, you know what? Here's the thing. And voting and this conversation is weaponized incompetence because you could learn and you can educate yourself. So what I tell people is if you have questions about a subject, look at all kinds of different viewpoints on that subject and make your own opinions. Don't listen to what people are telling you. Figure it out for yourself.
We're going to close off with Slash's comment. You're going to love this. Read that for me, Dee.
Slash says, you can't change the mind of our Trumpanese. We don't have enough time to sort through the telltales of misinformation. Slash, you and I, we love to fight and bicker, but we agree on those that more often than not. And you're right, he's
Absolutely.
right. So, and it's not
Absolutely.
about, I hold all politicians in complete disdain. I'm Canadian. We don't have a system where you're register for one party. You can vote for anybody you want.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
So, I hold them all in complete disdain. But you know what? If a man is convicted of 34 charges, there should be a rule where if you can't vote in some states, you shouldn't be on the ballot. Because there are states where he would not be able to vote. So, I will let that go because it's getting late. Xavier's got 2 days of school left, and then we're on summer break.
So we're going to double down. We're going to double down on that conversation for next week. Drew, we hope to see you, and we definitely going to have that conversation with or without you, brother.
Let's talk about how black and brown countries are considered beneath the developed world. Let's do it. Love it.
Exactly. Until next week, you guys be epic. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.